And the scene's stuck? Nope, we're good. Just a little bit laggy. Game number 1 in a brand new best of 3 here for the Matcherino Sunday Cup. If you guys want to get involved with Matcherino, what's really cool is you actually don't have to do it with us or other organizers. If you've got 2 friends, hell, 2 streamers, 2 pros, you can actually connect them. They can do show matches. You can run your own tournaments. There's a lot of really awesome stuff you can do with Matcherino, and it's all awesome because they're very transparent with everything on the site, including the fact that they do normally take fees, but they waive them, as that's the exchange we've made with them to host as many events with them as we have been. So make sure to check it out, Matcherino.com. In the bottom left side, though, we've got the red Protoss Team Liquid's MaNa.
In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, it's Hydra.
Who's already done something a little bit strange.
Yeah, he took the third just automatically. I mean, maybe just predicting the block on the natural, or just, you know, whatever. Interesting. But it is Ruins of Endion, and it's not going to be an early pool, or actually, it would never be a proxy. I don't think I've seen a proxy here. It's not going to be an early pool. Then it's probably going to go onto those third bases for both parties. MaNa wouldn't exactly be too disgruntled to let Hydra have a third if he's allowed to have his own third pretty quick. It's kind of like a Dusk Tower situation, even though it's a very different looking map. With those rocks being able to be broken down, sometimes it is just no rush. 10 minutes.
Yeah, that may be a factor here. It may also just be that Hydra's confident enough to play. It's weird to describe. Hydra is, I think, back from Korea now, because I saw a picture of like all the root people in the root house. So he's playing for North America. But point of this being, like, every time we've seen him play, I wouldn't say Hydra plays complacent and he's not lazy, but he really does come with like a no fucks given attitude a lot of time. Like, you won't see him react weirdly to somebody who cheesed him in game 1. Like, he'll still play the same way game 2 regardless.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's true. There's some players, and a lot of them, granted, seem to be Koreans because, well, we just, you know, there's a language barrier, right? But not with Hydra. Hydra actually is very good.
Hydra's English sometimes makes me think like someone else is using his Twitter account. Like,
yeah, well, like, especially his written, exactly. Like, I don't know what his, I haven't heard his interviews recently, but his written is bona fide, like, you know, American speaking. So anyway, but it is the case that it seems to be like their mentality towards the game is more just like, oh well, okay, on to the next game. And certainly are pro gamers from, you know, every region that have that type of, because that's what I think about Masa, right? Like, even though Masa's technically Korean, like, whatever, he's Canadian, right? But he's like, I've never like been like, you know, oh, Masa must be crushed out of defeat. I'm like, oh, Masa must be okay after that defeat. Okay, he's gonna go to the next game. Anyway, I guess we talk about a bit about Hydra, because of course he was one doing the interesting thing initially, but MaNa, Protoss versus Zerg, he was kind of the highlight for a long time, and still is. I mean, he's still in the tournament after all.
I mean, frankly, the only thing we've ever seen MaNa really lose to Zerg harshly was versus Rogue in the Ting finals, and that was it. Like, he actually looks good a lot of times. I mean, emphasis kind of goes back on the series he just played versus TLO, right? Sure, that went to the ace match, but you saw him fight on Prion in a situation that was like all odds against him, and he still made it work. You don't put baby in a corner, is basically what I'm saying about Team Liquid's MaNa.
Oh, we got a new donation for the Matcherino, so we're up to 444.
Oh shit!
1 cent. So thank you to Maroon Pirates.
Yarr.
Just to set the pool straight again, hashtag pure evil, hashtag end of all days, hashtag David Kim.
I like all of those. But as well, we got a resub coming in from one of the worst people on Twitch, X5 Kawaiian. Tried to ban me yesterday on Kathy's stream. I'll never forget. I'll never forgive. No, I'm just kidding. Kawaiian's really awesome, dude. And he's a Terran who streams, so you should check him out sometime, guys.
Yep.
That doesn't mean he's not a butt.
Now, I saw him trying to get GM in Korea, or like top 50 GM or something. Pretty impressive.
Well, we got the drop overlords coming in fairly odd spots once again, but this for Hydra, I mean, he has been doing, I'd say, banlings more than most. I know it's become very common, and it's like almost expected. Like, you could probably play blindly into this and guess banling or zergling drops nowadays, but this is something where I don't know that MaNa is going to falter. I really like the positioning on his pylons. I like his SimCity. I like the Stargate especially. He's doing a little bit of harass on the other side of the field, so maybe Hydra looks over here instead of drops, but really, I don't think this gets much done. Not from Hydra's point of view.
I agree. Actually, the Phoenix is okay. One goes down, but for two queens, that was pretty nice. But it's happening, kind of late. There's 4 lings.
If he makes us into banelings, which he is, that's going to take away from potential gas count back at home. MaNa's going with a pretty big warp in over here as well. So 2 adapts, a couple of zealots coming with.
Yeah. This could be complicated. I like that Hydra put a spore in the middle of his main to the natural too,
Yeah.
so the queens wouldn't be picked up instantly. And just in general, because the Phoenixes could be that devastating part of this push, to be honest, if they were allowed to roam free. They don't stop the War Prism from going down. I think that was their key point in life here.
That and all the banelings went into 2 adepts instead of the clump of zealots. So unfortunately, with the zealots just being allowed to roam free, they're going to get a lot more damage done for this. Now, 4 banelings did finish, I guess, morphing in over here. Hydra, realizing there's not really a third base finish, is going to skirt past this and go to the natural. If MaNa's paying attention, he's got the Photon to overcharge. He's got the Phoenix he can bring back home. I feel like he did a decent, not great damage on this side of the field, but he has to now make sure he doesn't take anything at home. This could go very poorly for him, and he's not looking just
Yeah.
yet.
I mean, oddly enough, it's not a very saturated natural base, so that could have been worse.
That's true, actually, yeah.
So 7 probes go down, and that's too bad. That could have been, only 2 or ideally 0. Phoenix came back.
7 for 4 banelings is actually, I would almost argue, more cost-effective for MaNa.
Yeah.
Obviously not his best, but that costs Hydra quite a bit to dedicate to it. Now, MaNa still needs to get warp-ins going. He still needs to get some defensive units on the field. He's got a decent count, a couple of zealots and sentries will make sure these lings don't get out of hand, but there are Hydras coming up next, and he's not making them to lurkers. He's actually getting the range upgrades for them.
We'll see if he couples with the banelings. Certainly, attack we've seen quite a few times on Ruins, break down these rocks, as he's looking to do with only the lings right now. Hydra gets a 4th base to the top. We've seen quite a few games. It seems just like preference, or depending on how the game's already gone, basically, as to whether or not you break down those eyes in the middle of the map and take those bases and just focus more on the lower level than the top of the map. But that's what for Hydra.
I knew a changeling could take the watchtower. I didn't know it could do it if it was like pre-changed or whatever.
I thought it couldn't.
Well, apparently it is, because that's just a blob of what looks like a creep tumor on the ground taking that watchtower.
Interesting. Well, anyway, so this game isn't going into entirely as I think we've seen in the past, where it's been a lot of baneling Hydra busts through the middle of the map. I think last night's or yesterday's NA qualifier is kind of skewed that, though. There's a lot of people that are all-inning, but anyway, it is still going through the Hydra lurker composition that you're seeing in PvZ. And of course, MaNa he's got the 3rd base up. He's back up to a decent probe count after losing 7. And he's getting that standard composition: Charge Lot, Immortal, well, actually not Charge Lot, but Zealot, Immortal, Storm. Actually, no charge still is a little bit interesting. Of course, the Templar arc is only just finished. We'll see how quickly he tries to go to Storm, if he goes to Storm. But the lack of charge, I feel like that should be on the way by now. He's just entirely skipping it.
What's kind of an interesting aspect is charge is good for a lot of reasons, but also it sounds dumb to say, because I know I've talked to No Regret and a couple others in the past jokingly about this, but like no charge means that you're also not running into the Zerglings and the Banelings, more importantly.
That's what I'm considering, is that he figures banelings are going to come anyway, because it's it's what everyone's doing nowadays, and banelings already shown themselves in this game, and he just doesn't want to go for charge lots when maybe they actually would just maybe they'd be stupid and run into banelings, and he's holding off on that for now, more focusing on these bigger units like the Immortals and Archons that would take quite a few baneling hits. Problem with it, though, is that the Archons can do okay against the Hydras, but that's why you usually just see really good Protoss players keep the charge slots behind until the banelings have used themselves, because they're still what can tear through those Hydras. And then charge is on the way now.
Well, I think a lot of this is going to not just be pretty much everything you... Like, I can't actually add anything. You just covered everything. But I think on top of this, a lot of this is going to be positional, too. Like, for example, out in the open, normally this benefits Zerg in a lot of different ways. But because this is a lurker composition game, that would be so much better for MaNa to be fighting out there instead of in here, where he's caught with all the pylons, scrunched up in a choke. By the way, I just realized with the prize pool donation from the pirate guy, it makes the prize far, far, far.
Yeah, it could be. It's cute.
Someone else pointed out in chat I stole it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not cute anymore. Anyway, so yeah, I agree like all the points about like getting into like a nice concave like out in the open, but the addition of
Lurkers,
those switch
please.
overcharges they can really help out, especially if there's a cannon detecting them for some time.
He can force field all those lurkers in, and oh my god, if those stay stuck there, storms are gonna wreck them.
So many already died. I think 2 or 3 died to the photon overcharge, and then like 2 more got pretty low. It was actually surprising how much damage those lurkers were taking, but Hydra just giving no fucks basically, running in there.
Gotta keep the Templar safe. The Banelings gunned right for them, almost got them. Nexus getting a little bit low, probably will go down, but if MaNa can hold enough of the army here and kill it, he does have this base on the way.
A good storm hits the heart of the Hydras, but they were on their retreat anyway, so none of them actually go down. And losing that third base. Does he? Oh, yeah, well, he was using the cannons originally. That's what killed the Lickers, but you're right. He does have the Oracle here now. The Observer was at the front, it looks like, where he was predicting the fight to happen, and now he's brought it back.
Okay, well, a small warping on the other side of the map. Got some Zealots in the mineral line, but that one Lurker, there we go. That was a brutal death. That thing came out of the ground like a Nidus were. This is like a zit being popped. Ugh.
Ew. Why? Why are you doing this to me? So the Observer's there and the Relation's there. No Overseer to snipe that Observer is a little disappointing for Hydra, as a couple of those Lurkers are not actually seeing the Revelation, but 6 more Lurkers on the way, as well as teching up to, I imagine, is going to be Hydra Brood Lords eventually with the Infestation Pit Spire combo. And MaNa, I mean, he's not like out of this game yet. He's a bank. He's slowly getting up to max, but that lack of a third base, that big army, I don't know.
The army supply is not so different, but the Storms and the Templar haven't been able to get involved in any of these fights, and for that reason, I'm really worried for MaNa. Normally, he's the guy with the Warp Prism dropping the Templar out, right? Like, he's got none of his groove, I feel, this game.
It's kind of a good way to put it. He missed the opportunity to get the Storms when Hydra was going through a choke, so instead Hydra's units get behind a mineral line in this kind of awkward concave that killed all of his probes at the 4th base. Everything could have gone better, but instead everything just went slightly wrong for MaNa. So I feel like his groove not going is a pretty accurate way to say it.
And here's where this sucks, right? Like, cost of 2 of his bases, he just killed all the units on the front lines, almost missing a couple lurkers here, but kills the entire army of Hydra. And Hydra should have had trouble replacing this, except he's on 5 bases. He's got 70-something drones. All his gases are saturated, so this isn't a problem for him. But this was another great example of, like, MaNa does best in, like, the worst situations. The problem is I don't think there's a follow-up for this one. Neither 3rd nor 4th are down. His income's pretty shot. His main's mined out. His natural's mining out. This is not a good situation for him.
Last fight, probably, as he tries to break this. There's so many Hydras.
The Banelings are going to be a surprise.
Well, they're not exactly effective against the Immortals, but there's so many of them.
I think if you've got enough of something, it can be effective against anything.
Right?
like, technically, 500 Lings would be effective against Hellbats.
Technically.
All right. So Hydra will take that first game in this best of 3. We're going to squeeze out that break real quick, though, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll get the lobby set up. It will be MaNa's map pick. We'll see you in 2 minutes. Welcome back to game number 2 in the Matcherino Cup. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting into what is possibly the last game. I don't know. That was a little bit rough for this guy. We'll see if he can bring it back. In the upper right, playing for Team Liquid, it's going to be the red Protoss, MaNa.
In the bottom left, as the blue Zerg, it is Roots Hydra.
All right, I would like to emphasize that once again, jokes aside about the silly pun for the prize pool name, the prize pool is guaranteed that players will walk away today with no less than $44, which is kind of cool to consider. I don't think we could push this to 600. We really, we've already had quite a few generous donations, but it's interesting to me because if any of these Matcherino Cups, we've had 2 do this. But if any of the Matcherino Cups get to $600, that means 3rd and 4th place prize are worth the same amount as winning a Corsair Cup.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Crap, I had another point about Matcherino, and then
actually, hang on, sorry, real quick about Matcherino, because I forgot. Didn't we had an issue where you gave me the prize money for somebody one time, right? For the last cup? Do you remember about that?
No, the last cup was fixed by the admin.
No, but I had to take money from somebody who couldn't figure out Twitch, because I just realized there's $58 in the Matcherino account, and I have to pay that to somebody.
Yeah, that is totally possible. I forget who it was though. I can look at it. Keen. Keen it was.
Okay, so I gotta go forward some money to Keen after this is all said and done. Because yeah, I just realized I
Righto.
had totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, like the only way that you can join a Matcherino is if you have a Twitch account, which shouldn't is usually not a problem for all of you out there and most of the pro gamers that we have. But Keen hasn't used his Twitch in like 5 years. I imagine he doesn't remember the password. So that kind of sucks. But everyone here, I already checked, has a Twitch account. Makes it nice and easy for me.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll ever associate other things, like if you can attach your Hitbox account or your Freakin account or whatnot. But
Yeah.
I guess some people are aware, like the reason you log in with your Twitch account is just because it verifies it's you, and it's easier than having to create a brand new account on a brand new website. You can just one click do it. And then it's easier for us to associate the money to your Twitch account directly, and you can just withdraw it right away. So for those who don't know how it works, like you don't have to wait a week, you don't have to wait a month, like you can just withdraw the money immediately. The Twitch account login is just to verify that you are that person.
Mm-hmm. I remember my point. It wasn't about Matcherino. It was about this series. So, I mean, you already brought up. I just want to reiterate that Hydra's back in the States. So it's a European Cup, and Micro wouldn't break or make that last game. It really felt more just like, well, no. It was more about positioning, and just catching MaNa just a tiniest bit off guard with some things. It lost MaNa that game, but it can affect some things for Hydra. This guy doesn't seem to matter. He talks about mentalities before, about like a player loses the game. There's also mentalities about when lag is an issue or when delays are an issue in general. Some people are much better at dealing with it than others, and Hydra just doesn't care. He just wants money.
Which type of lag do you find more tilt-inducing? I mean, all lag is, let's be honest. But the type where it's still smooth, but you've got like that 1 second delay, like you'll click, but they won't actually go for 1 second. Or the type where you've got perfect like response time, but for whatever reason you start getting like 2 FPS because of the lag.
The first one, I think, is more annoying.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm actually more inclined to hate the second one more. But again,
Well,
all forms
my
of
unit's
lag suck.
not reacting sounds much worse.
Yeah, but if they can react perfectly, but you can't see what you need to react to because you've got like 2 FPS.
I mean, I guess it is preference, right? I feel like that would just bring me back to Brood War, the first option. The second option, I just would blame lag.
How
anyway.
good are your predictions is what it comes down to, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you shoot where the Space Invaders are going to be, or do you shoot where they are?
So, all that aside, we do have what is now normal, of course, a Bailey Nest and an Evolution Chamber. So it's not going to be for drops. As Phoenix is, well, they're going to make sure it's not for drops as they clean up the Overlords, despite Hydra's speed upgrade being already done. It's kind of funny to see 2 Overlords in the top left and bottom right, by the way. I feel that space is never shown on the minimap. It's highlighted now, and it's freaking me out.
Well, interesting wall coming out of MaNa back here at home. So as far as King goes, apparently I actually did send him a payment according to PayPal. So I was looking that up while this was going on. So I didn't forget. I'm amazing. I just didn't withdraw from Matcherino, so I was just out $58 or whatever. 60 bucks.
Well, good guy, Rifkin.
Nailed it. Okay, so +1 melee starts up. I gotta be honest though, like regardless of what we expect to see at a Hydra, you can almost just assume it's gonna be banelings at some point. Which makes me think if you went just a straight up like anything else, that would probably be a little more surprising and catch MaNa off guard. But Hydra's not a player who relies on gimmicks, and he's not trying to catch MaNa off guard. So again, it's a 4th base because he can get away with it. It's a Bailey Nest with no emphasis on speed because the layer's not done, but we'll probably see that come up soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is actually looking much like a game we just cast in the last series with the Invitation Pits, but oh, wait a minute, this is different. So the Invitation Pit, okay, for Hydra, but triple Stargates from MaNa.
It's not just that it's triple Stargates, but he adds level 1 weapons to go with it.
He did this... Wait, was he the one who did this? Showtime did this. I feel... Okay, regardless, pros have been doing this, in general, more and more, it seems. Whether they're going for 2 or 3, or sometimes still when they're only going for 1, they add that +1. I just, it's curious. It makes a lot of sense. If you're going to take 3 Stargates, you're going to, an upgrade seems totally worthy, but for the other ones, they'll look more questionable. But the Hive starts for Hydra. He's not going to go for Infestors. And if he goes regular Spire and there's a Spire, this could be problematic. This is one of those games where going for Ultras would actually be very good against Protoss, since he's not going for Immortals. His scouting tells him at least what he feels comfortable knowing, I guess. Like, because I actually look at his vision, he's not scouted much, but I guess, he figures it's Dust Towers. It was a Baneling game initially. I haven't been broken by Banelings yet, so I guess you're going to be going for that Hive. Because otherwise, I feel like, well, I guess even if it was like a Roach Outdraw, and Mass Phoenix would still be surprisingly good. But anyway, Brood Lords are probably the worst thing that Hydra could go for. Just slap down a Fleet Beacon, and MaNa's gonna already have a couple of Tempests on the way.
Yeah, what I worry about more so though is like MaNa might find himself in that position where Hydra, well, first off, he's massacring drones. Like, let's bring attention to that. There's a lot of queens to chase, but there's just so many Phoenix that the Spore Caller can pick one off and it won't really matter. 22 drones go down. But I was going to comment that this is something where for MaNa, I almost worry he goes too heavy into the Phoenix, and then we find this awkward situation where just Ling Floods win because he can't pick them all up. I hope that's not the case we find ourselves in, because MaNa is, of course, down one in the series, but this has certainly caught Hydra, but I've got now MaNa ahead in workers, ever so slightly, but ahead in workers nonetheless.
Yeah. It's... Because he realizes that it's Mass Phoenix, and they definitely don't go for Brood Lords. If you do, like, make sure you're gonna win the Air War. So Corruptors are not bad to see to try and take care of this first and foremost, but only 4 will get wrecked. He needs to hide them for now. But I do wonder about the ground. Like, is it gonna be the Mass Flood Lings? Is he gonna try and Mass Banelings, which would be very interesting? Or will he go for an Ultralisk Cavern, hoping that Immortals and Archons aren't gonna be out?
So this is kind of funny. The damage is somewhat limited because he uses so many Phoenix to lift up. It also guarantees no transfuses, so technically guarantees kills, even though it's less damage going out. Now he topples all the queens. There's like a single Corruptor. 8 more are on the way, but I feel like the Phoenix, especially with +1, can actually dogfight with these Corruptors. In fact, he's just gonna jump on him right away. MaNa doesn't care. Yeah,
I said, like, Hydra's gotta hide those Corruptors, but I guess he thought he had a better chance than he did. So 10 are on the way, and that's still not a bad amount, but they're still coming out one at a time. There's a lot of Phoenix. They have that +1.
This is the little Spore Caller that could. It's getting a lot of damage in, but it's not necessarily racking up the kills just yet. This might be a bit of an over-dedication for MaNa. He may be better off backing away from this, but I understand what he wants to do, and he wants to keep the Corruptor count low so he never actually gets to snowball to the point where he can't deal with it. But if he gives away so many Phoenix in the process, then, Hydra kind of ends up being mission accomplished.
It's a very interesting trade, but I think at the end it was so worth it for MaNa. MaNa just isn't macroing very well right now. His bank is quite large. Should probably throw down a 4th base. At the very least, his gas is still very low.
Right, I was going to say, it's not so much his macros bad. He just doesn't have a lot of gas to spend. He can kind of warp in 14 Zealots.
They have charge. Yeah.
Actually, he is going to warp in 10 Zealots. So
there you go.
Color me wrong. There you go. The best part is... Well, the Corruptor count is kind of whatever, negligible, because the Archons are now coming into play. So, like, the Phoenix are already dealing well with this. Hydra's just going to tap out. No big fight, just a very depressing end to his life.
Yeah. Huh. Wow. Interesting. It is almost like a macro cheese, Like, I just hope he doesn't realize that I'm bulking up carriers used to be the thing, and this game it was just like, I hope he doesn't realize I'm going to go, like, 50 Phoenixes. Yeah, that triple Stargate worked well, not being scouted. So congratulations to MaNa. He'll tie the series up 1-1. We'll go to a break and get into game number 3 here ASAP, as it's going to be Hydra's pick for the final map. All right, folks, welcome back. We are getting into Coral. Wait, Hydra had the option for Preon Terraces, and he picked Coral Carnage Knockout. He asked me, is Coral on the map pool? And I was like, yeah. Okay, so this, I really like this, because for me, this automatically tells me Hydra's thinking about doing something probably with the rocks. He's probably trying to catch MaNa off guard. Maybe he just likes really big maps. But this is a really interesting choice. Like, this is a truly interesting choice for a final map. We don't have an intro for it, so we're just going to hop into the game directly. But, oh, man. To want to pick Coral Carnage Knockout is not so strange to me. It's just to pick that over Preon Terraces as a Zerg, it's strange to me, you know what I mean? Yeah, well, consistently all... Oh. Hello? Sorry, they've been choosing Preon Terraces. It's like in the middle. I thought you lagged out. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. No, that was just me. Pressing buttons. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's Sunday. You're watching the Matcherino Cup. This is the end of the semifinals. The winner of this will go on to fight against a Laser in the grand finish.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm rooting for a PvZ finals, so we'll see how it goes. In the top right, clearly I want him to lose. It's gonna be the Blue Zerg. Root Gaming's Hydra.
Confirmed. Rifkin thinks Hydra's a bad player.
Yep.
In the bottom left,
That's what I
mid
said.
bottom left, it is the red Protoss player, Liquid MaNa.
I just like MaNa because he's white.
That is me stepping away.
Actually, did you see that video recently? I guess this is an old video, so maybe you've already seen it, but I only saw it on Reddit for the first time. Where there's like this British guy who has this advert in the paper saying no Asians for like renting or buying a house.
I remember this vaguely.
Yeah, and like the reporter goes like all tough and like ready to like really drill into him, like, why are you saying no Asians? Like there's laws against that, you know, you can't do that. And then they realize like it's just like a really shitty accent, and when he had called in the advert, he had said no agents, like no housing agents, but they heard no Asians because of the lazy accent. So the whole news crew just starts laughing as soon as the reporter goes from like stern to laughing. He's like, oh wait, do you mean agents? It's so good. I love it. I love finding like little hidden gems like that. Maybe it was Australian or British, I don't know. But the point of it is still is just like I love that you can have those little misunderstandings, and it's like such an innocent thing too. But also,
It seems like an odd thing to be like. It's like, I love kitten videos, but you're like, I love videos where people have a misunderstanding and they laugh it off. I love sitcoms.
I love prank videos, bro. Ethan Bradbury's my idol.
Jesus.
But okay, anyways, as the game progresses, the question really comes into who's going to use what for the map. This could be standard. I mean, the nice thing about the spawn locations is you don't have that weirdness where like you're going to be at each other's thirds back to back. So this could end up being like a bit of a split map. They rotate around. But what I am curious about is, again, with Hydra choosing to pick this map, there's a lot of dead space. Is he thinking about a Nidus Worm? Is he thinking about using the back rocks and breaking them down? Like, what are Hydra's plans for this map? Because it obviously didn't involve an early pool.
Yeah, that's what I would have first guessed, but you know, we were talking about stupid stuff, and I didn't have to guess at all. We just saw Hydra go to a third base. Now, as far as macro games go, like you're right, like a Nidus Worm would have been the next option, but holding off on the lair for so long, I don't think it would be like a pure Ling Nidus Worm, although we have seen that. Just maybe breaking down the rocks and abusing the multiple pathways that can be open in the mid to late game is what Hydra wants from this map. He also wants a couple of probes, because the Lings are just a let through.
Yeah, I mean, try to knock down the rocks is admirable because it'll stop anything from happening, but I like the pylon coming down. It's going to get canceled. You just want to make sure the Lings can go through to the main. Something easily cleaned up here now with the Stalker. Now, the rocks, though, I do fear are almost like a false sense of security. MaNa, wait, was MaNa the one who did those weird gateways, or am I thinking of someone else? The non-walling gateways up at the front.
That was someone else.
Okay.
I want to see someone in the North American bracket.
Can we talk about scaling on this map for a moment, too, by the way? Like,
Dude, you don't talk about a map scale. That's rude.
No, hang on, look. So that fence is like a normal size, right? Like, that makes sense. Like, I can actually envision this fence and the light post in real life, right?
Okay.
What the fuck are these trees?
Oh. They're little shrubs. They're just
Like little...
they're little babbies.
No, they're like fully grown trees shrunken.
I don't know.
Look, they're over here too. Like, in what world? How
Okay,
big is
what
this
if-
fence? Are we
Yeah,
doing
what if the fence is just super, super, super big?
It's Attack on Titan, dude.
I mean, the fences don't make any sense anyway, because what are they fencing off? Like,
Actually-
there's still ways to get around the fence.
This is like the roof of a giant building too, all things considered.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that people on the city below just have Zerg carcasses being thrown on top of them?
They got their broom, they're like knocking at the ceiling, like, keep it
What the
down
heck?
up there! You're gonna wage war into it quietly, I'm trying to sleep.
Why are all these mineral patches and stuff on top of buildings? It makes no sense.
You know what the other
Wait.
thing is? It looks like they burst through as well. So they grew on like the 9th floor and burst through the roof or something.
Yeah, like this is not where warfare is going to evolve, is it? Like, 2,000 years from now?
Okay, well,
Tunnels
anyways,
on top of bases.
building stuff aside, we do have some interesting things developing actually. So first off, Hydra's putting some static defense down. I like this move, whatever the Spire. But MaNa was really hoping to catch this, I think, off guard with the War Prism. But it got scouted pretty much initially by that Ling. It's going to get scouted here by the Overlord. So reaction time for Hydra should be plenty to deal with it.
The Spire option is going to be, I think, something that MaNa will first of all needs to scout, but also it makes sense, right? Like the TvZ we saw earlier on this map, the mutas made sense, even though eventually that person did lose because, well, it's the one that guaranteed to get over the rocks. First of all, I don't have to worry about breaking down rocks to get mutas through, and there is a lot of dead space on the outside as you just looked at all those gates and whatnot. So it's going to be a problem though if MaNa doesn't realize it doesn't have a good Phoenix count already. Then Yuta's already coming out here. Really could snowball. One Stargate finishes up, so he starts building Phoenixes.
Thank you, by the way, Silver8901 for resubbing. 3 months. Very nice. Warp Prism over here could maybe get a couple of feeling kills. I can't imagine it's going to get too much more than that unless MaNa really wants to dedicate to a Warp in, but not going to happen. So we're kind of past the point now where Hydra was going to get away with too much cheekiness, but we are actually at mutas. Now here's where I think mutas are really interesting in the game. Unlike other maps, you know, the dynamic of this applies to Liberators as well. There's a lot of space behind that mineral line. Stalkers can blink over, they can chase. Mutas don't have a lot of places they can run, and much less run rampant, so these 10 mutas initially are a little bit scary. Is he actually going to dedicate to more?
I think so. The Warp Prism going down is definitely a bummer for MaNa, because even though that's almost like a guarantee when mutas are out, you would have hoped to be able to skirt the edges and get those mutas to come back at least once, especially if you weren't prepared for the mutas, which this is one of those rare games where it wasn't Stargate first amongst your tech. It was Stargate after, I think, like a Robo and yeah, the Robo and the Warp Prism and the Forge. So the Phoenix count isn't even, I mean, it wouldn't even be that high anyway. Like, you stop at 5 or 6 usually, but only at 2 is even worse here. And there could have been a snowball effect. If Hydra went right for the building Stargates that are building right now at the front, like killed 2 pylons, could have been a snowball. But instead, he did back off, and he's going into Corruptors now. So he might still play the Muta Corruptor game, you know, old-fashioned almost. Don't see it too often anymore, but he also has an Infestation Pit.
So another point about this map, assuming that this is the roof, because again, there's like outhouses and whatever, and even the outhouses are bigger than trees. Why would this Elnaga plant towers on a random building on like Core Hall and just be like, you know what, we'll leave 4 of these here and fly away?
See, I don't think it was this Elnaga, right? Because they made everything before.
But they're
like,
the Elnaga towers.
I guess you're right.
there's no getting away from that one.
You're right. There's not. I mean, like, I figured, like, maybe, like, you know, there's actually, like, Terrans stole the technology, so they're stealing Zelnaga towers to place on their cities. I can see that. They steal every other one's tech. Just like the Americans. Maybe
that's the case. Well, we got 3 starports pumping Phoenix right now from MaNa, so it's going to be capable of dealing with the mutas. It's worth noting that Corruptors are coming into play, and while it's not a strategy that we've seen for a while, Corruptor Muta was able to take on Phoenix once upon a time. This was like the go-to. You go for armor upgrades as well, so the Corruptors would never die, but MaNa's already got so many Phoenix in play, I don't think Hydra can actually contest this.
I didn't think it would go back in MaNa's favor here with the Phoenixes, but you might be right. It's not lots of Corruptors. We'll see. 11 Mutas, 14 Corruptors versus just 14 Phoenix. I guess altogether, Hydra would win that war. But MaNa, he has that +1 upgrade. He's actually going to +2 upgrade. Surprised you don't see Hydra going to the Carapace upgrade for his heir. He's getting a second Spire, though, so I think that should start soon.
Okay, so, well, we got the pause. I mean, the second Spire could be for double upgrades, which I actually think in this situation would be better if he's looking to just purely take this to Air War. If he makes it for a greater Spire, though, I think that's a mistake. Because right now, he's not suited. He is going to do it. I don't think he's suited to deal with what the current situation is.
Yeah, he hasn't won the Air War. There's no guarantee that he will.
Phoenix got riggedy wrecked as well. This Phoenix going to hound him down and try and finish them off. There's some Corruptors coming to defend, but this is not enough. The Corruptors are even like, nope, I misjudged how many Phoenix there are.
The Mothership was what I was woeing at, and the Tempest, of course, I figured that I would already start because, you know, maybe MaNa is figuring that Broodlords have to be on the way too. So nice call by him, but the Mothership is just wanting to see this early. Usually you see, like, first the Immortal Zealot game, of course, which we didn't see this game, and then the Tempest, and then maybe if it goes to like 4 or 5 bases on Dusk Towers, you see a Mothership, but only on 3 bases on Core Hall.
So there's a lot to talk about for the game. I just want to quickly put this in check. I know there's some really fun copy pasts, and I'm not usually one to be the Debbie Downer like this, but there's some copy pasts in chat where people are starting to like pretend they're Twitch staff. That shit can actually get you banned on Twitch. Like, there's no impersonating Twitch staff, guys. So, just by all means, have fun with your copy pasta. Don't copy past the Twitch staff stuff because I wouldn't want somebody to get banned. Like, and this is not a joke. This is actually like a small moment of serious clarity.
Well, that's unfortunate because this copy pasta already went through like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Rehashed.
So I'm
Everyone's gonna get banned now. Way to go, guys.
All right, so the Vipers are going to play an interesting dynamic. Obviously, it's a lot less about necessarily landing the parasitic bombs. Those are great if you can land them, but abducting the mothership, getting the Tempest in range, like keeping that Protoss army from sitting far and far away is probably like the best use of them, especially how limited the numbers are. Plus, you've got to dive in pretty close to the Templar. You'll see some feedbacks go off if you try and parasitic bomb too eagerly. Other side of the map, by the way, MaNa doesn't really have anything to respond to this. He didn't put cannons at the front. That complacency, that like, the illusion of safety. Oh wow, a lot of overlords going down here as well. This is going to supply block Hydra pretty hardcore, but he does need to deal with these rocks. Lings will actually kill not just his production, but all the pylons protecting them. We got some Corruptor Caustic Spray going on over there. Cancels. I'm awkward.
This might get a little bit awkward. Those Lings can do a lot of damage. The Phoenix are coming back home. The fourth base obviously canceled. It doesn't worry about that much anymore, but the entire army of MaNa is at that third base. Looks like the Phoenixes will clean up the Lings to the left. Hydra didn't go in with these Lings until after the Lings were already cleaned up, though, so I think this is actually not going to do as much damage as it potentially could have when when MaNa was distracted by everything else that was going on. We might see this go in a split map, by the way, through that center. I wonder who's going to take the center base.
Well, the center base will be certainly interesting to see as a dynamic, but I like the Void Rays starting to come out now. The Void Rays on their own are usually not too good, but paired up with a Mothership, that stealth actually adds quite a bit of value to them, and they'll take out Overseers quickly. Same with these Phoenix. It's harder to land parasitic bombs if you can't see what you're hitting and all that good jazz.
I
didn't expect it to go like this. Not for Game 3, but I just want to point out the income graph is all blue. There is not a hint of red on here whatsoever. So MaNa, he doesn't exactly have a ton of money to work with, but this also kind of makes sense with how many resources Hydra's lost up to this point.
Yeah, let's be checking resources lost. MaNa is winning that, but it's also just a very small number for, I feel like it's been a pretty long game, right? Like we're in a Broodlord Infestor versus Air Sky Toss. But I was gonna say, like, I feel very bad for Hydra because it's always been like my opinion that when Protoss could get to the late game, that Sky Toss, they actually do have a very good composition. Not like, OP, but kind of the better one, especially if they can add in Archons and Storms underneath, which MaNa right now is missing, and that's a little worrying. But even still, I think he has a good shot to take this air war. Corruptors go in, Vipers pull the Tempests, yeah.
First time ever in like a year and a half of casting, we're losing frames on how intense this battle is, but we got Stealth. There's the Void Rays prismatically aligned. Archons get underneath that clump of Corruptors. Splits out of Hydra aren't too bad, though. The Phoenixes do go down. He's going to recall out of the fight in an abandoned ship.
Oh, man, but those cannons, like, they're all going down. This is his third base, of course, as well. As he tries to expand to the top, he has somewhere to send these probes, but
Hydra.
I really feel like there's a problem with not having High Templars there, both for the feedback. Okay, so, update. This has not happened before, believe it or not. Out of the many ways that Rifkin's, streaming has been interrupted by power outages, thunderstorms, random power outages because someone like crashed into it, internet outages for no reason, Twitch fucking him over. This one is new. His computer literally broke, so that's definitely not good news. You might see me take over streaming for the next few days because that sounds obviously like he's gonna need a new parts, which is going to take a while. Luckily, we only have 2 more things to do, but oh man, actually, like, I really hope he at least can cast, and I know he can because he has a laptop, but I don't think he'll want to be streaming from that. But of course, we'll worry about the actual technical side of it later. We are still going to finish out this cast. I'll be streaming, so pardon the camera handling, I suppose, is always the biggest difference, I would say, and the lack of map intros, I guess, as well. Hopefully the sounds will be okay as I adjust, because I know it's got to be slightly uncomfortable for me when it comes to the in-game sounds, so it's good for you guys. Bump it up to like 35, maybe like 12 in the music. That sounds a little bit better already. But let me know, looking in chats, more specifically to the subs and mods, of course, to say what the sound looks like. Like smoke coming out. Broke. All right, so the safety of the stream, I'm going to wait another 1 minute and 20 seconds, it looks like, and make sure that this is coming up before I let the players start. So, I mean, apologize if you are just watching me do nothing. But the finals, by the way, like, we didn't really get to go into the whole blur of what's going on. Like, congratulations to Hydra, first of all, for winning that very epic late game engagement. Unfortunately, I don't know when he lagged out, actually, because we weren't using a Twitch delay. That means no Gusta for the end of that game. Okay, so just like TLDR, he lost the second fight. I'm gonna assume he saw the first fight. He lost the second air battle because his computer was also kind of breaking, but not in the same way, obviously. But that map, we were talking about how it's legitimately an issue that map would have such severe FPS drops for both the players and obviously the observers, and that is a serious issue. That if you guys, if you're going to make something on Reddit or Team Liquid to talk about, this would be a legitimate issue to bring up. I don't know if that's what caused, like, the computer was like, nope, fuck Core Hall, like, I'm done with life, and that's why it broke, or it was just a long time coming. But that's unfortunate for him. But MaNa did also lose, unfortunately for MaNa. Hopefully his computer didn't actually break as well. And we are going into a ZVZ, so great that I am left with that.